Okay, do you know doctors often use a reflex hammer. Reflex hammer means the hammer, na? So reflex hammer to strike the just below the knee joint. So below the knee joint, na, they just strike. Hammer means what? Hathodi. Okay, reflex hathodi. So that one in the hospitals they have. That not what we use in the at home. That hathodi is different. Okay, so reflex hammer. So when they beat near the joint, under the joint, to know whether the sensation, this produces a pressure signal which it travels back to the spinal cord. Okay, so immediately it goes going to the spinal cord, that touching the spinal cord directly with the motor nerves in the spinal cord. So from there, these nerves are ending with the synapse. This only gives the message, synapse, axon. This empty gap is called as what? Synapse. And it has connection with the spinal cord. So spinal cord respond to this one. Immediately sends the message to that one, somebody is touching you. This is the called motor nerves. Sensory nerves and motor nerves. Taking message to the spinal cord or to the brain is called as a sensory nerves, and bringing back to respond to that touch is called as a motor nerves. Okay, from there the motor neuron conducts a response back to the muscles in thigh region, this thigh region, triggering contraction. This contraction coordinated with the relaxation of the antagonistic muscles of lower portion. So this this muscle is called below the knee antagonistic muscle of our leg, causes the leg to kick. So if somebody is what is that, with the hammer, if they are beating means immediately we kick, kick means what? We remove the leg. So when we respond to that, our first message has to go through the sensory nerves and again comes back to the motor nerves, then only we respond to that one. Okay, so this is a reflex which helps maintain posture and balance, allowing to keep one's balance with little effort or conscious thought. The pain felt later is due to the fact that the information of this act and pain signals that are produced reach the brain, from where response are affected through a different pathway. Okay, so message to the through the nerves reach to the spinal cord, from there to the brain, and again brain give message to the nerves, spinal cord. From the spinal cord it comes to the this place where they are touching, then we feel the pain. Okay, so this is the spinal cord and the what is that, brain, central nervous system. The nerves are connected to the spinal cord and to the brain and all parts of our body, where the exchange of information is taking place. So exchange of information is taking place through what? Through the nerve cells. Where in the nerve cells what is there? So in the nerve cells we have the synapses. Yes, here this axon, so this axon will be ending with the synapse, gap, empty place. So this synapse has some chemicals which changes the messages. Okay, then from here we take. Thank you, students.
Nervous tissue. Objective: to learn about the nervous tissue and its functions. If a person unknowingly touches a hot object like a kettle, she immediately pulls back her hand. Why does she do this? This happens as the receptors present in the fingers sense the heat from the kettle. The sensory nerves in the fingers absorb this impulse and transmit it to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, this impulse passes to the motor neuron, which in turn passes this impulse to the affected muscle in the finger, and the person immediately removes her hand from the kettle. This whole process involves coordination among the nerve cells called neurons. These neurons are found inside the spinal cord and the brain. Now let's learn about neurons. A neuron consists of a cell body called soma. The soma is enclosed by the cell membrane and has a nucleus. There are several thin, thread-like extensions from the cell body called dendrites. The dendrites receive impulses from the adjoining neurons. The other extension from the cell body or soma is a single-branched extension called an axon. Each axon is comprised of a cone-shaped base called an axon hillock that arises from the soma. At the other end, the axon is divided into many branches, from where the signal passing through the axon is transmitted to the other cell via a junction called a synapse. Thus, the information is received by the dendrites and is then sent out through the axon to the neighboring cell. This is how information is transmitted from one cell to another. To summarize, if we unknowingly touch a hot object, we immediately pull our hand away from it. This process involves coordination among the nerve cells called neurons. A neuron consists of a cell body called soma. There are several thin, thread-like extensions from the cell body called dendrites. The other extension from the cell body or soma is a single-branched extension called an axon.
Reflex actions. Reflex actions may be defined as the automatic or involuntary response to a sensory stimulus which is not under conscious control. Some reflex actions are inborn and others are learned. Inborn reflexes are inherited and need not be learned. Some examples of inborn reflexes are given here. 1. Knee-jerk reflex. When the knee is tapped below the kneecap, the lower leg jerks forward. 2. Coughing. When unwanted matter gets into the windpipe, it is cleared by coughing. 3. Response to pain. If you accidentally sit on a pin, you jump up quickly. Learned reflexes are actions which have to be learned before they become automatic. For example, talking, reading, writing, dancing, etc. In a reflex action, the path taken by the message is known as reflex arc. It can be understood by the following example. When a person accidentally touches a hot object, a pain-sensitive receptor cell in his fingertip detects the heat stimulus and triggers off the nerve impulse. From here, the impulse travels along a sensory nerve to the spinal cord. The message is processed and the response is generated in the spinal cord itself. Then, this response travels down through a motor nerve to the muscles of the arm. The muscles of the arm receive the response and his arm muscles contract, lifting the person's finger away from the hot object. Simple reflex action. The simple reflex action is a purely involuntary action. Example, when a hot object is touched by a hand is withdrawn quickly. When an object approaches near the eyes, blinking. Bone of the knee is tapped. The knee is jerked.